50%?
Yes.
Or is it over 50?
51%. I think it's hard when you have.
An even number?
I
We're
tried
recording.
last time, but
Yeah.
I could not hear you no matter how many times I tried to leave, come back and change all the
Yeah,
devices and
We could figure that out. It was our audio was not working. When I went to,
I was like,
When I
I'm
went
feeling
to-
crazy.
when I went to post that video to YouTube the next day, no audio.
No audio. I think I didn't try to watch it because I wasn't able to get any more out of it than I could.
So I hope it's working today. Very much hope it works tomorrow. Without Whitney in the room, she's gonna use the recordings for the minutes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I might actually have one of those little digital recorders too. I might bring that in as a
Okay.
redundancy just in case,
Yeah,
because it's important to have 2 minutes for.
Yeah,
Conditions, yeah.
So do you want me to step outside and check if there's sound coming out?
Eh,
But don't-
We'll find out tomorrow.
There
Here we
we go.
go. Now we're definitely.
Hey,
Perfect.
Sealy.
now I think.
Now we got a quorum. Yep. Ready to rock and roll. Does anybody have any agendas, minutes or the
Hey,
sample? Fill your normal.
No, I don't.
No.
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 I'm.
Thank you. Look at me. Charlie.
Or let's get over.
No. No.
We are rolling.
Okay. Can you?
Yep.
Sorry. Okay.
Nobody burned their retinas today.
If I hadn't have been in the last 5 hours, I wouldn't have. Lord.
Here's the questions.
We have a copy of the questions.
Make sure you give everybody a copy.
But,
You got it, got it. Thank you.
oh, I have this,
You okay?
so I've done it already,
Yeah.
Done it.
sort of.
All right, so welcome, April 8th to our calling up to order, Lindsay Smith, co-chair. Let's go ahead and take, roll call really quickly. We'll go counterclockwise.
Go from here.
Bridget LaBrie.
Dan Regan.
Celia here,
Okay, and we don't have anyone online, and we have,
Staff. Rob.
staff.
Yep.
Okay, excellent. Public comments, there's seeing nobody from the public here, we'll move along. Review and approve meeting minutes from March 25th, our last meeting. Did everyone have a chance to review? We can also leave these to the next meeting if we feel like we are short on, folks.
you have on, line 36,
Uh-huh.
the community forums.
Mhm.
And I don't know where it is, but it doesn't say where it is, it's gonna be.
Okay,
Do you
So I
want me to
just
make a
took it out.
motion? And then we'll,
Is it at the community building or is it?
make a motion to what? Oh, make a motion for what?
usually we,
I don't think we need to make a
You know,
motion
you don't wanna put it in,
Oh.
that's fine with me,
I'm gonna go
but
for it.
to, yeah, I mean, so, did we discuss where it's community building?
well, you guys will talk about it, but you
Yeah.
know, but you don't say the name to us, so.
Okay.
Right? I just bring that up where, cause I myself, you know.
Great, great.
I'm sure I said it when I put it up on the board, ECB. Enfield Community Building, right there.
Well, there you go.
I would say.
Okay.
I was blind.
That's all right. It got mentioned, so we'll add it into the minutes.
Okay.
Any other notable content changes to the minutes or mistakes or something that we noticed? Now you can make a motion.
All right, I'll make a motion because I can't vote to approve the minutes.
I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those against, have any problems? No, anyone abstaining? Bridget's abstaining. Okay. We're gonna approve those minutes. from March 25th. So, so very quickly, we've got, so I typed up everything that we talked about. Included all the different questions, complete, incomplete, you know, all the, like, big, huge, long email, and I sent it off to Liz. They put together these questions here. So I wanted to, let me find the email from her. really quickly. Just put some context around some things, just so that we all understand what this, a little bit more about the, what this community forum is going to be. Because I've also had some misunderstandings. So, because I was thinking that there's gonna be a survey afterwards, but it looks like that I don't think there's gonna be a survey because of such a small time frame. That it's gonna be the community forum. So they wanted 4 or 5 questions for each topic, which will be available for people to answer in person. And then this will also become an online tool. So they're calling it an online tool. I've been saying survey instrument because I was thinking we were gonna do a survey kind of like the last one. But I think that's, those are the 2 main things that it will be using to gather information, which will then be distilled and written up, but to get this done by September. So, that is, that became clear for me. I had it a little wrong in my head.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Are they planning to post these online so people can ruminate on them before they attend the sessions? Rather than just hitting them cold?
I think that's a good, fair question to ask Liz next week or next meeting.
Yeah,
It would
if I-
actually is next.
If I came to it and somebody handed this to me, I wouldn't have any time to think about answering it.
Okay. So that's a really good point.
Yeah.
And, so what we're doing today is, so let's make a note of that. Today, we're going over this stuff. We'll send back any kind of thoughts and changes that we have. Next week on the 15th is an online only meeting with Resilience to continue to go over this and offer them some other feedback. So we don't necessarily have to, we're not going to be doing the fine tuning today because they're the ones that are in charge of that.
Yeah.
But this was just an opportunity to kind of see if we like some of the directions of this, if that's making sense to us. And, you know, start to formulate questions that you might have for Resilience themselves, who will be here next week. And by here, I mean online. And to just let everyone know, I will not be at that meeting. I've got a course that starts next week and the only opportunity to take it was Mondays from 6:30 to 8. So,
Is it on what day did you say it was?
the 15th. Yeah, and we couldn't, like, we were gonna try to do it the 22nd and then she had to change it. Nope.
It's milk.
And same time,
Huh?
6:30 start
Yeah.
time.
But it's just gonna be online only.
Tax day.
Tax day. Down. I know, you've been in your crate for hours. So, so again, these were the draft discussion questions. We can do some mocking up, we can formulate some ideas, and some of these things I can relate back to Liz. And other things might be questions for them for next week, so, and I think that's a great one. Are we gonna be able to provide
Right.
people that's,
Heads up.
right.
I would want to see the questions before I attended the meeting.
Right, and some of these came directly from the things, so, the other thing that she said is that when she sent this out, was that these were the mock questions, but also some of the questions that we sent. She tried to encapsulate the spirit of what was brainstormed, but aimed at keeping the number of questions to about 5 per topic, which we see being a good amount for a community member to get through. We also noticed many questions brainstormed, especially in the energy sustainability section, are much better sourced by community-wide data sources like the census, rather than surveying a small sample population, such as things that we were asking about, like what's your source of heat? So that's where we're not going to see some of those things that are, that we can actually get real and more robust data on. So, okay. Thoughts? We can start at the beginning. we can jump into the middle. I don't care.
Lindsay, my own thought from recreation, somebody had a really good point. I don't know who it was last time, but they said, recreation infield is a part of the broader Upper Valley
Mhm.
recreational opportunities.
Mhm.
In a, we're very specific to Enfield, as we should be, but it would be nice if they also had the opportunity to elaborate more, that I know if I don't get something in Enfield, that might be available to me in Lebanon, or,
I think that's in number 5, is it?
It asks if you utilize
yeah,
other
yeah,
ones.
I'm sorry.
So if there's a better way to say that, so if that's not getting at that, then that's a good note to put here, so.
No, that does get it. I
That
just
gets to it.
Yeah, that gets to it. I just missed it.
Okay.
Thank you.
I mean, I'm happy to say read each one and we can just look at it like that, so we make sure we touch everything, if that makes sense. So we did talk about, so number 1, we talked about what does recreation mean to you? As a really kind of a general, trying to get a sense of allowing that definition to come from people. Do we think that's still a good way to? Okay. So no comments on
You
that
don't
one.
answer.
No, you don't need to answer them. You can,
I
well,
answered
good,
all
you
of
can
them.
submit those answers, because we also get to participate in the answering of
Okay.
questions, because we are community members.
Yeah.
So the nice thing about this is we have to come up with the unbiased questions, but we get to answer them however we feel personally. So, everybody take the surveys or the online tools or participate. So you've got a head start there. But right now about the question, the number 2, do you think Enfield currently has enough recreation opportunities available to community members? Yes, no, somewhat. Do we think that question is adequate, has good? Is there a better way to say it? Is there?
No, I think that's a good one, because it gives the opportunity to explain further, so.
Right.
Okay.
And I think we need to hear what people are looking for if they don't like it.
Yes. Hopefully, a lot of people just say no.
It's true, they do. And
Okay,
then when you do offer things, they say sure, and then they don't say no.
right. Yes. Okay. What kinds of new recreation opportunities, programs, facilities, or spaces would we like to see in Enfield? So it's like past, I'm just thinking out loud, past, now, and future.
I just have a question
Sure.
about using the word new,
Mhm.
because I don't think a lot of people might not know what we do have already.
Okay,
So actually, maybe we change the order,
okay,
because there are, number 4 is, do you know what
Ah.
are offered? So maybe we put that as 3 and then 3 as 4.
That makes sense.
And then it makes
Sure.
people think about it first before they answer, because, yeah. I could ask Kevin. I did a survey,
I remember that.
yeah, and those results exist.
If you could find those and send them along.
Let me ask Kevin, because we do have some of that information. And it's now a few years old, but.
But I think you're right, changing 3 and 4, so the 4 gets at, what do you currently utilize? If anything, or do you know what recreation programs are offered in Enfield? If so, where do you currently get your recreation program information? So that's 2.
Here's a very subtle
Uh-huh.
recommendation. Instead of new recreation opportunities, how about future?
Hmm. I like that. Yeah, because I'm thinking past, now, future.
After from all these things, would there be any value in taking out a list of all of the current opportunities that do exist and show them this sheet of paper, and it shows that we have 45 different things available, and say, were you aware that Enfield has all of these opportunities currently? I think it surprise people. They might say, wow, no. I didn't.
Yeah, I was trying to think if there's like a good, we either provide it or if there's a link that we put, like, so for the electronic tool, if someone's online
Yeah.
doing this, you know, they can click the link, which will take them to all the things, if they were like, oh, know how to find this. We can ask Kevin if there's a list. but
Yeah.
There's gotta be,
And I wouldn't wanna provide that prior. to
That-
the
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
questions. It would
Yeah.
Come after, just as a kind of FYI,
yep,
is this of interest to you?
I think that's a great question to ask Liz and resilience next week.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, and or do we add in one more question that just says, have you, you know, like there, it's that. Either what you've said exactly like that, or if it is more of that itemized list of like, have you ever, you know, participated in the past or currently, and it like, it's a big chart, you know,
Yeah.
youth, I mean, we don't have to go like, you know, it could be just like youth baseball versus all the different age groups, you know, but like, senior, or, you know, yoga, chair yoga, like we could
yeah,
try to list out all the different programs that we have. I don't, but we'd have to ask her what if there's room or space for that, because it also does help to me, I like that kind of automized list, because I've done so many things that sometimes I don't realize, I don't remember what I've done where.
Yeah.
And or like, some things, maybe like, oh, I didn't know that was part of recreation, like going to the farmer's market. Oh, that's part of recreation, you know, like at least now it is. It has been for a long enough time,
yeah, yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
So if somebody wants to bring that up next week and ask about, would there be value in doing that? Versus trying to, this like, do you know what recreation programs are offered in Enfield is like, yeah.
Yeah.
But do you, you know,
That's
and
the thing,
again,
you
how
have
do
to
you
eliminate.
define, how are you defining recreation?
Exactly.
You know, I think that to me is the only problem with 4 is like, how are we defining? Cause like, to me also recreational programs or what, again, I think of recreation of like, how do I recreate outdoors? And it's not necessarily in
My wife knits at the library, is that recreation?
so,
Yeah, sure.
yeah,
I mean, technically.
It is for him.
it is. But I also don't do formalized programs. Like I utilize Shaker Mountain trails. So,
Right.
well, apparently I'm not supposed to have my dog off leash for the next 2 months, but those ground birds cannot have laid nets yet with all the snow.
So they're sorry if they did.
Sorry.
So I just had one more question,
Sure,
and I don't even
absolutely.
know my opinion on this question, but, I almost want to say, what new programs would you like to see? And then, are you willing to pay for it? I mean, are you willing to spend your tax dollars on it? Because
Well.
I've heard, I remember pickleball came up on listserv probably 2 years ago. And people were like, yeah. And then one person said, well, let's utilize the stuff we have first. So again, I don't know if it's the purpose here, Lindsay, of that, but I would be interested in, how you wanna see your taxes go up in order to do that? Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah,
Just throwing it up.
no, I'm just wondering on the wording.
I think that's,
Is touchy.
you know, that's a good question to ask for Liz on what the value, again, thinking about the value of the questions and the purpose of those in a master plan. It may be what you want to ask about, it might be, because we need to be careful about, at least in my understanding, is being really careful about not making assumptions of how things come about. We're just gathering the information saying this is what people are looking for, or this is what people value.
Mhm.
Versus like, you know, again, we're only gonna get a small segment of the population, you know, like, and people value what we found from the last round, and this is what I keep kind of coming back to, is, like, our job's not to figure out how to pay for stuff. That's not the master plan's purpose. People valued our historical buildings. They really do. When they imagined Enfield, when they thought of this place, they pictured Whitney Hall. It is surprising how many people, and that was an overwhelming answer. If you then go, well, do you want to pay to fix it? People are like, oh, no. If you ask that question,
Yeah.
because they're already feeling tight. But then when you say, hey, we're gonna fix this because this is something that you actually value. It's it's trying to figure what's our purpose as the master plan, and it's not to figure out the economics behind stuff. Or how it happens, but is to come up with when other people are making those decisions, like where do budget monies go and that kind of stuff, is to align them with the values. So it might be, that's why I can't say, like, I think it's really good to ask Liz that, because I could be wrong, because I don't, I mean, but we tried to stay away from that, from some stuff of saying, not how is it gonna happen? Because it also gets used in some ways that, like, again, people will cherry pick information,
Mhm.
to fit the narrative that they want to. I mean, that's just the nature of campaigning on whatever. But I think that bring that up. Because it's, depending on who answers that. And then we'd have to get into, at least in my opinion, I would want to know what are the demographics of people that are answering this. And we would have to have a 10-question demographic survey, and we did that work, but we also, because then it's to go, oh, if it's only everybody that's over the age of 80 that's answering this survey and none of them want pickleball, like, does that mean that nobody wants pickleball, or is it just that people that, because
Mhm.
sorry, I'd be
Very
upset on this. It's kind of like, I don't know. Ask Liz. I'd be really curious to see what she says on how we go about that, or if we don't.
Are you naming the different things like pickleball, or you say not to do that kind of thing?
No, I think just like, I think it's hard asking about, like, are you willing to pay for this? Because, again, like, people also want anything they can for free, And then also we have this ability that we have people that are interested in pickleball, but those that don't play pickleball will be like, no. And instead of being like, oh, we're a community and you get like, again, I know that conversation was very selfish on all parts. It highlights, it's like, I don't drive down that street, so I don't want it to be
I don't
paved.
have kids in the schools, why should I pay for it?
Right, and we end up in that realm, and we're a community, yeah, so that's why, like, I'm curious about, like, when a master plan has to be, but again, your data is only as good as the number of people that come out for it too, so. Gets you.
In the master plan, though, if we're planning and we want to put a certain, if the majority of the community wants to put a certain recreational capability into town,
Mhm.
then that goes into the master plan. And then maybe a group of people will get together and say, oh, let's build this pickleball. We're gonna donate some money, and they're gonna find some grants, and they're gonna figure it out.
Yeah,
We
I
don't
think
talk about the money part. We talk about what do we want to see in the next 5 years
Yeah.
for recreation in this town.
we want programs to
That's where we wanna
expand.
go.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and then how they expand and what they expand, like, that's more nuanced work that gets done by, like, the Recreation Commission, is the way my understanding of
Right.
how it should trickle down. Because nobody wants to pay for anything. That's clear.
But, like Lakeside Park, a lot of people contributed a lot of money to make that
Right.
happen,
But there was still a lot of pushback. There's a lot of pushback
Yeah.
at town meeting about it.
Yeah. It
Because
cost that much in tax money, did it?
it doesn't, but people were, because people kept saying it was not gonna cost any tax dollars. And, and it was like, well, what about the lawn mowing, that
Right.
tax doll, I mean, it just became this.
Yeah.
It was a long, and I wasn't moderator at that point in time, it was a long, annoying conversation.
I enjoy it, so.
I say, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't cost us a lot of tax.
Right.
It's not
Right.
$0.
And it's
Majority came
actually,
from donations,
it's a
which is-
beautiful addition, but
Yes.
trying to get people to go, what's the big vision? Not the weeds of it.
The weeds, yeah.
It's really hard. That's our job, and that's really hard. It does give other people, then again, they can come along and say, well, you said you wanted this, and so I'm gonna interpret that to mean this specific thing. And it may or may not, I mean, that's, I think, how we got into the Johnson Beach conversation.
What about, they made it like water sports or
Yeah,
snow?
I mean, but like, we can track all of that, and I think that's where there's some value there, like especially if people get into that specificity with big open-ended questions like that, you can, code that kind of stuff and
Mhm.
say, you know, water recreation was mentioned 20 times. And then that, again, that information goes to people that are developing rec programs. And they go, okay, we see that there's big support for community supported programming. If we want to expand our programming, looks like water sports got mentioned a lot, like that's where that kind of gets distilled down, or at least in my experience with social research at this level. But I think, again, these are really great things to bring up to, and ask Resilience their thoughts. Because they do this more often. Been way too many years since I was in grad school. But I like that. I like those points. Anything else on the recreation that we think that got missed or that it's generating thoughts for you? Some of these are just to jot down again to give to, or to ask for Resilience about. Okay. Oh my God, this dog is going. Both of my dogs make it through this week without me murdering them, and anybody else from the SPCA? Joking. Okay, heritage and preservation. Do we think that they've started to capture what we were talking about? Any glaring omissions? We started again with what are the terms heritage and historic preservation mean to you as they relate to input? There's Shirley.
Hi, I apologize.
That's okay. Did you go eclipsing?
Pardon
Did
me,
you go eclipsing?
I didn't hear you.
Did you go eclipsing?
No, I was at a meeting
Oh.
that ran late and there was just no way I could leave early.
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I did do eclipsing earlier today, but this was another meeting. It started at 5. They started early for me, but it ran late today and I could not leave.
No worries. So we're just on, I'll catch you up while everyone's clicking through. We are looking at the questions that Resilience sent over. They distilled these from, I sent them copious notes from our last meeting and really tried to type out every question I heard. So they got that full picture. And so this is what they came up with. Liz clarified for me that, they hope to do about 5 questions per topic. These will both be presented at the community forum, and then this will be the online tool. There will be no separate other community survey. So we're not going to use a survey and they're calling it the online tool, which will be the exact same as what's presented at the community forum. One very good question that Phil had was about, are we going to be able to post these questions to the community before the forum? So that people can come in having prepared some answers. Because Celia's answered them all, so she's ready to submit her answers. She might make some changes, which to remind again that everybody hears, please answer it. That gets our numbers up. So we just did recreation. Talked about maybe changing new recreation opportunities to future recreation opportunities, programs, facilities. Talked about maybe asking about what an itemized list would look like. That would jog people's memories as far as like things that they've participated in versus just an open-ended question. Switching 4 and 3 because doing now and then future. And Dan brought up a really good question that I think we should pose to Liz about asking something along the lines of, are you willing to pay for these things? Or do we ask questions like that or not? And they can.
That is good because there is a cost involved for if you add extra things.
So, yeah, it's hard. I'm of the thought that that's not our job. But I think that's a good question to ask Resilience.
Because then we know how people feel.
Well, people like a lot of stuff, but they don't necessarily want to pay for, I think, like, again, my overview is that for the master plan, our job is to identify the needs and wants and trends and those kinds of things and not get into those weeds of hows and whys and exactly what, but a money question or something may also help. I don't know. That's people who do this on a regular basis, that's a better question for them to answer. I think that's a really good point.
On the heritage
Mhm.
and historic preservation, kind of have a question on. So they have Knox River and Mascoma River.
Mhm.
Now, that to me is more conservation than this. I understand there were mills along them, but I guess to me, it's kind of it's weird to ask as far as preserved or protected because they're water, so they already are, not by us. Like, what more are we gonna do to protect them? We can make sure there's
Okay.
a story about them, I guess, if that's what we're looking at, but it's just
You
the way
say
that.
you add it,
From,
or,
that's more
or
conservation than.
the
That's what I
river
was
and the
thinking.
Muskoma, okay. I see what
And
you're
then
saying.
the cemeteries is the same, like they're already protected and preserved if we know where they are. So I get, that just seems like it's duplicate efforts of what we're already doing. And or if the state does.
I think part of that river and, as part of the history of the grist mills and that's kind of thing, I think, what they're thinking about.
Yeah, I
Knox
guess it
River
was,
had them going all the way down to wherever.
right,
And the Muskoma, you know, that really has a lot. I mean, it has the electricity.
but it's asking, what additional ones should be preserved or protected. Those are already protected. I don't know if I can say, I don't know if you can preserve the river, but we have
How
stories.
wide, how are they protected?
They're a waterway. Are they not protected
Yeah.
in
yeah, but what
conservation
about
by the state?
Yeah.
Foundations to the grist mills and things like
Those,
that.
I'm not talking about those ones. That's a separate check. I'm just saying there's one checkbox that's Knox River and Mascoma River. But that to me is conservation and they're already protected. So I feel like that would duplicate what's already been talked about, because we've already talked about our waterways and water. And we can't protect them any more than the state does. I
Who
don't, I mean,
protects
maybe we.
them? If we don't protect,
Well, that's what I'm, but they're already protected.
by who?
Does the state not protect water? I can't
They
dump
don't.
anything I want into the river. It's right next to my
It's
house.
supposed to be in charge.
But you know what I'm saying? Like there are already
But there are-
rules, there are laws and.
But there are more
protections.
things we need to do to protect them, but I think it is under conservation, I agree.
Yeah, I just think that's a different topic than this one. And the cemetery is kind of the same. We already protect and preserve our cemeteries. So I don't know that I guess unless someone's got feedback and they want more done.
You can say that about just about everything on this list. You know, our historic buildings have been identified and we're protecting those historic buildings.
Right.
Unless there's some new ones out there that we don't know about.
And I guess that's how I kind of read that one. I was like, historic buildings, maybe people will list additional ones, barns, stone walls.
Well, the cemeteries are all the old ones that were just small lots, are they all come under this protection?
If we know where they are, they have, most of them have a sign. So I don't know that, and I don't know the RSA's off the top of my head as far as if we have to do anything further. Like one of them that comes to mind is the Whittemore one. It's right up along the Springfield town line on George Hill. There's no sign there. And honestly, I still have yet to find it, but John's gonna show me one of these days. But unless we're going to go up a quarter mile-ish, I think it is, and plug in fencing, I don't think there's much more we can do as far as that, but we know where they are and the state knows, and I think that's the most important part.
But just don't let it grow up and be so that it isn't even
Oh, that one's not maintained by us at all, because we can't get in there very easily. It was an old, there was like a logging road that went in there, but it's starting to grow back, so our guys, without hiking,
Which one?
the Whittemore, it's right up the top of George Hill,
Hmm.
right along where the Springfield town line is. You like walk along the stone wall for, I don't know, because I haven't found it yet, but John Carr knows where it is. So.
Yeah, it's on his property or near his property, right?
No,
That's his
no,
property right at the top of the hill.
I don't think so. I don't know,
Oh,
but
so-
he knows, it's like out to the right and it's out a ways.
He's big complaining up there. I don't know which one's it.
Yeah, I don't know which one's this. I've tried to
can
find
look it
it.
up.
I just took a wrong turn. We didn't go quite far enough.
So I think so it sounds like your question on 3 is, it says additional historic cultural resources should be preserved or protected. Check all that apply. But then they're giving us a list
Right.
of things that are, some of them are already being done. So it's like kind of that word additional sounds is throwing us off a little bit.
Well, that's kind of,
And I mean, the river in Mascoma feels more, conservation. I think the question is kind of ambiguous in some way, or it's weird.
Would the master plan be ensuring that the continuation?
We can't insure anything. We can't
Or
insure anything.
encouraging?
It is,
Yeah.
we're trying to get the sense of
Yeah.
where the community is at right now and lay out a vision for the next 10 years that people then who are making the decisions can utilize to help make decisions.
Yeah.
The work that we should do should be able to last and hold true for 5 to 10 years. Some of it may hold true longer than that. Some things might change because the world changes. But that's the work that we do, and it's not to make decisions, it's to provide information for people who are making decisions.
Mhm.
So what are the attitudes? What are the thoughts?
Is there a different way to word that maybe? And or leave space for. Cause like, so if I was
Mhm.
collecting this and someone said historic buildings,
Mhm.
I'd wanna know what ones. In some ways, because maybe they don't know that some already are protected, so they're thinking that, and we can say, "Oh, okay, we did that already." You know, like, I think we need a little more in some areas on that. And if they're sharing these things,
Right.
how do we direct them? And, you know, we're collecting the information, but someone, so Heritage, needs to take this information, but if they just say, there are historic barns and buildings. You know, I'm just wondering, like, can we collect more to give them a starting point as well as find out what do people know we already have, what we don't have,
Mhm.
that kind of thing. I don't know. It just feels like, so it's kind of open-ended, but maybe too
It is.
open-ended.
Very open.
Yeah,
Like, what's the definition of a historical building? Is it 50 years old, 100 years old, 200 years old? What's the definition,
Yeah.
you know?
I also be kind of interested in like, what do we mean by preserve or protecting? Like, I mean, some ways
Yeah.
they are, like stone walls. They're hard to cut through. You're not allowed to. For some reason. I don't know the whole preservation of them, but.
And that's another thing, right? What if if this historic building or barn is on someone's property, you can't really march on there and tell them what to do with that. If they're like, it's falling down, I'm taking it down. We as a town can't demand that they not.
But I think we
Sorry,
can do
right
that for
now,
stone
right?
walls, can't we? I don't know.
But yeah,
For some
for
reason,
that-
we can
I
like,
think
we
those
can't
are,
cut through, like, we have a stone, we've got multiple stone walls and I know we can't cut through one of them. My
Yeah.
mom's is really hard to get. Maybe it's with the state, but.
but yeah, you know, it's like, so I guess it's
Okay.
just might be
Okay.
too open.
I've got the,
Somebody had suggested maybe taking out the word additional,
mhm.
and that's might be part of a solution.
Hmm.
So I guess what we're sticking, Lindsay, with the way you've articulated the spirit of the master plan. We want to know what's important to people, and then we leave it up to others to implement to make sure that they're doing it, which is
Yeah.
the Heritage and Preservation Committee, et cetera, et cetera. So we're just to take that out and not overcomplicate it by trying to list all the historical buildings. We just want to hear from people that, yeah, historical buildings
They
are
know what
important
it
to us. And what about the rivers? I don't see any harm if they check that box, so we know we're doing.
Right.
But, any way to keep it simple, but get the spirit of what we want to preserve. Talked a little bit last week also about, it's not only that we want to preserve the things, but there's an educational component as well. And there's no question here that talks about I don't know, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, but, is it important that the community understands where these things are cataloged and how to get the information related to our heritage? While we're doing the preservation, we also want to be able to learn about our heritage. So somebody can jump in now that can articulate that better, but
Same, I say, use that same question like recreation. Do you know where to find? Like we have do you know what recreation programs are offered? And if so, where would you currently get your program information? So same type of question, like, do you know maybe
Yeah.
what historically preserved buildings or however we want to word it exist, and do you know where to get that information? So again, kind of making them think about if they do know and.
yeah. Because we could preserve everything in town, but if
Right.
then we don't transfer the knowledge. What could?
Right.
Yeah.
There's so many that, don't know a lot of the heritage.
Yeah.
Get over here.
Well,
It might be an extension of question two is adding on that educational component. If it's like, is it important to you? Yes, no. Why or why not? You know where to learn about
what
it.
about the products that are made in Enfield, whether it be Shaker or the wool company or, as part of our heritage?
Okay.
You know, the products that were, I think the iron for ironing.
A lot of people would be surprised to know the patents that, the Shaker Museum had way back.
For the iron,
The seeds.
the electric
things.
iron was
Yeah.
made in Enfield.
Yeah.
That's a part of the history. Nobody knows that.
I mean, like
And the seed
Yeah.
packets.
that thing,
Yeah,
that,
Yeah.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
a lot
that
of things.
thing that like
People
was the
don't-
downfall of women's freedom because it tied you to a cord.
I've done my share of.
Yay.
I
I'm just kidding.
mine out the other day.
I
Can't
got
get my
that from
iron board
Lisa
down now.
somewhere.
Come on, Doc. That's
But that's history, and that's heritage, and
right.
That a lot of
it's
people.
just an awareness too.
But again, I mean, again, that maybe feeds to the where.
Mhm.
And I have not
That could be
seen
like the
any of that.
textiles and
anything.
things made. I can, without a better, things made, like instead of as part of this list, you
It
know.
also makes people aware, might have that, it's like the Shaker Museum, people had Shaker things in their homes,
Mhm.
and they never even thought about giving it, So, but now they are.
Yeah, and there've been recent donations
Right,
back to the
right.
museum. of- but things that have
However, it
been
makes
local
people
homes.
aware that might be sitting with them. Oh, this is part of history, to refer it. Somehow we gotta put that in there and to twist it so it
Maybe Liz could help us with that one as well.
Mhm.
make them aware.
Exactly. Is it important that we catalog and communicate our heritage? And
Got that, that's good. Good word to use. The other part is
Okay.
and I know you probably call it conservation, but our heritage is based on what we had as far as, forest, the people that came in cut the forest so they can, because they had to grow something, you know, to survive. I mean, that was the beginning, and that's why you get all your fields and everything, and then someone, you know, let them go and grow back, but that's what happened. It was wilderness. We had the Indians, so.
Yeah. And that's why there's not so much.
And a stagecoach going to Proctor's, so
I have a
it's
question.
all part of
Would
it.
it be helpful if we had people rank order these when they ask what historical and cultural resources should be preserved and then rank order?
Well, that's a
That's a good
idea.
question.
Like maybe their number one priority would be historical buildings and number two, the barns. And then maybe mill foundations, you know, something like that. That'd be a question I would ask.
I'll try to relate all of these to Liz, so that she can at least address them next week, but please have these same questions, like, ready to potentially ask, you know. I'm trying to write all this down and we'll type it up to her so that she can come prepared to answer why or why not, or that's great, or change things around for next week, but also, these are great questions that just,
I put somewhere education there. In it.
yeah, I've written that one down.
Educational programs,
Yep,
that could be part of.
yeah, I did that. I mean, I feel like people that are, if you're not from here, you don't really unless you seek it out, but, and if you are, you did some fourth grade program at the Shaker Museum, some, right?
Only if you're from Enfield.
Yeah, exactly, only if you're
That could
from
be
there.
I'm asking.
So, yeah,
Definitions. About the overall country of Enfield,
mhm.
you know. Plus all in,
That might be a great thing for the Heritage Commission to do, start offering a history program, History Alive in Enfield.
Well, they have been doing, every, newsletter has an article in it about a different part of,
So I should start opening this.
Infield's history.
Hey, I've been.
this
They've
month,
been very good.
And I totally didn't get the stuff in there for the other newsletter, by the way. I don't know what happened the last,
I've
2
been
weeks
putting
of-
blurbs in about cemeteries too.
yeah.
I forget what, this, I haven't looked at this much, but there's something, we've been putting articles in every.
I forget to open it. And then I forget to submit stuff for it.
even one of the things out there, and it would not fall under anything, but but it's part of history and it's very sort of way and exciting. But I brought it other places. It's when they made culverts, they made them out of stone, and they, you know, the pile, and that's a special kind of thing. And I I read something about some other town having that, but our farm off Potato Road has one, and you'd never know it unless you really got into it and could see it, but it's just perfect the way they stack it up, and then you might find a tree growing out of it or something, but
Mhm.
I would cut it down. So, but those are very interesting things,
Yeah.
because
Many of
that
them.
kind of thing more, it's the building, it's how they did their things, you know, how they made the culverts.
Right. There's some interesting questions, especially, you know, again, it's not our job to like figure out how to use this, but I can brainstorm and go like, oh, we're making this byway. And if we have visitors coming, how do we create a walking tour or some, you know, driving tour, like, you know,
Yeah,
again.
That's good.
So
too.
how are we transmitting information Enfield's heritage, not just people that live here, but people that are visiting here or, you know, and
Right.
creating
Exactly.
economic development
Mhm.
from our history, you
It's a
know?
conversation I actually had
Exactly.
with Meredith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A number of years
Yeah,
ago,
it's-
'cause I
it's-
had an idea about how to do that and
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
didn't ask.
And that's,
That
it's like, you know,
that would
that's
be
what
wonderful.
the Shaker Museum, I mean, they do tours, right? And I think nothing beats having a tour guide unless you're not there when the tour guide's there, and then you can do a walking tour, but like, there's benefits to both. Some people prefer a walking tour. There's times I prefer a tour guide. times I don't, you know? So, but those are those things, like if we're, how are we getting information? How do we share information? How do you want to? How do you learn about stuff? You know, so I'll send all these on.
That'd be great for our economy.
Sure, yeah, exactly. That's that idea of like a river walk, you know,
Yeah.
or,
People are interested, like that culvert. I'd like to see that.
we're all gonna go on your property.
Coming up,
Careful
so-
what you wish for.
Nothing.
Like the.
Outside of mud season, right?
Just a quick thing, the eclipse filled the museum last night. It was full, all the rooms.
Oh,
People
no
came
way.
to see it. Is
Oh,
that
yeah.
really? I've
That's great.
got one room for the eclipse.
Dear, it was,
The parking lot was starting to fill up when I was at the offices this afternoon.
that was, I started to go north.
Yeah, 68 pictures.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I figured
Oh,
you
I was
were
at
north.
EBS.
I
No.
figured you were north, because I
I
was
made it
like,
about
oh,
an
Bridget just
hour out
posted
and went,
68
this is
pictures.
insanity, and I'm not gonna make it on time because of traffic.
Well, that's where David is.
I knew
He's
there was gonna be
called me
accident.
from north
It
of
was a great
Thornbury.
afternoon at the library.
But I had a filter on my camera, that's
Yes, I saw 68 pictures.
fine. Hey, you know,
All right, let's keep moving. Conservation. Remember, we are still trying to keep, there are 30,000 foot. And, as much as I want, like, I wish we could do a full survey tool where we could have 20 questions. It doesn't seem like that's going to be the reality with our short time frame, so. We can't get as specific as all of us would like, Felix.
We could, you know, use a bigger word and capture that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. So how can we, in the limited space and time, capture some of the things? Nope. I know.
You move on.
Whitney's gonna have to
Uh-oh. Here we go.
filter out what is,
Conservation.
you sit down.
Yeah, there again, number 5, I'd asked about rank ordering that again,
Mhm.
Okay.
instead of just checking all that
Yeah,
apply,
that's good, would be good to know.
because you can't do everything. And you want to focus on what most people are interested in.
well, and so in a way. Yeah, I guess they could be not in that listing. I was just looking at number 3 and where it says, what are your priorities for future? And it's like, it's almost the same.
Well, maybe put
And
five.
then
and
5 is
kinda
what are your
three.
biggest concerns, so,
5 and 3 could be combined.
yeah, the same, maybe we move part of it.
Okay.
I put trash and littering, I changed it to hazardous waste. Even that's, that's not,
Which one, huh?
hazardous waste
Okay.
on that list, if you
Yeah.
like the list, you know.
We've got a health and welfare.
My
officer
biggest
in town that pretty
concern
much
is
takes care of
following the
trash
law.
and litter problem. He's all over it,
You do?
right?
Who is it?
Health and welfare, officer in town.
Liam?
Yeah, Liam, he's all over litter.
Well, he's all over people that have trash,
He
yes.
called me 3 times about that red couch I had along before.
Oh, that, yeah.
But I
Some guy in
George,
Georgia
my
that
tenants,
literally has a
to get rid of it.
landfill.
You can't throw it away until, you gotta wait 30 days. So it had to sit there for 30 days. But anyway, all I'm saying is trash and litter is being taken.
Who's on the job?
He's on the job.
I think my biggest beef with that is to ask Casella to shut the doors after they pick up, because you watch them pick someone's stuff up and dump it, drive down the road, and the stuff is flying out of the
Yeah.
truck, so it seems like it defeats the entire purpose.
I noticed that
Putting it
the
in
other
the bin
day when
again.
I was.
Yeah,
There was a,
anyway,
I think we do a pretty good job.
no, we do. Just watched it and
this, I happened to come along just after, and I'd never noticed it before, because I guess it had landed. But this was stuff in the air that was still in the air.
Lindsay, one thing I'd love
Yeah.
to get people's points of view on
Mhm.
is, it's the balance between conservation and development, right? It's not. don't kick me. It can't be all conservation all the time with no flexibility for development. And I agree, we have to protect the laws, we have to protect the waters, and I'm all about that. But again, in the spirit of trying to say to people, where do you want to be in 5 or 10 years? I don't want to turn this qualitative research into a quantitative study, it's not. But I almost like to give them a 1 to 10 scale, where 1 is total conservation, nothing but conservation. And 10 is off the charts, development first, it's all about development. And where do we want to be on that spectrum? Do we want to be, yeah, I'm a 2, so it's mostly about conservation, but I can see that we need to have some room for development. Or am I the type of person that just wants to say, no, damn the torpedoes, build the buildings, do whatever?
I think that you could do both. You know, would protect the environment.
I absolutely agree, and I hope our community would say the same.
There's a balance.
There's a balance, but so the thing I'm trying to get at and trying to tease out, you know,
It's how they are thinking.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think that that's important to know, especially in the next few years where many things are considering changes on to.
And whether it's building or, you know, ties right back into recreation too. We're conserving or preserving land that sometimes it would make a great area for recreational activities. Other times, well, okay, you know, wildlife, like you don't want people traipsing through and disturbing and stuff. So you know, we have that kind of running. Okay.
Could be considered from each area.
Mm-hmm.
It all boils down to land use.
Every
How you use your land.
Every time. That was in the first part. Last 5 chapters.
I always had this, you talk about visions, I always had this vision of an overlay district for the whole town.
Of a what?
An overlay district of everything that's not a natural resource. So people that can see it, that's my vision. I just know it can be done. I just know. Like out in the rural areas.
Yeah.
You know, with all the stuff that's there, I mean, the watershed, all those kinds of things, wildlife. If there was an overview of the whole town with this land. You know what I mean? That's the way I think about it. You know, it's like the person that put the house across the street from my house. That was the craziest thing. And they lifted it up, made it, that's not, and it's right in the middle of a corridor.
Yeah.
So, you know, I live with it, but it's really a big change. And if we were really smart, we would have had that moved to somewhat over from where they cross. So we've already lost several deer up there from going across. They're used to going across.
Yeah.
And, that kind of thing, I'm saying, you know, don't put it right in the middle of it.
A good GIS map overlay is what you're looking for. One of the layers.
Okay, so what layer do you want to add?
I'm just saying it's an overlay.
Uh-huh.
Where it would include all of those pieces, so where you have
Wildlife corridors,
wildlife corridors.
wetlands.
Right, but you also need steep slopes, you got all
All the
like
things in-
Muskoma Lake, you got those streams that are coming down. And they've been altered and some too much have gone into the one place and it impacts the lakes. That kind of knowledge, if someone's gonna build a house on a lot that's like 5 acres, 10 acres, 2 acres, and there's a stream right there, they should leave it in the direction it's going instead of trying to.
But don't they have to already? I mean,
They don't, that's when you go back down to to who's watching, you know, who's watching it.
mhm.
And it's the state supposed to watch it. Well, you know, they don't do that, so.
I say, I wanna keep
Yeah,
building a
let's-
pool in my river, but I'm told I'm not allowed to mess with it.
You what?
You can do it by hand.
Well, that's what I was thinking. If I just drop some rocks and it pools in my river and then I have a little
Swimming.
swimming hole in my.
Let the boxcar children do that.
You gotta
They
keep them watching
totally
the
did.
walls
They
back.
totally did. Everything
Yeah,
comes back to
The old road, actually, the old mill,
They like,
pieces
they
that are there.
totally made a
they fell in.
swimming hole, something. I
I
think.
had around the stream on my property and I had to dig it all by hand.
And that was
That
the.
was legal. You couldn't use a backhoe.
Interesting.
So I spent many hours out.
Ugh.
Here's an example, they're talking about paving Bog Road. Now, why would they wanna do that? So the trucks
You've been
can
on
go
Bog Road?
faster, the people can speed, when you got the animals crossing constantly. You know, you can go walk, drive down the road. I've had a moose walk with his calves right in front of me. I had to stop and let them go. And they, you know, but if you're flying, if it's paved, the people got.
Do we have a map with the wildlife
Huh?
corridors on it? Or do you
Yes,
need
there's
one?
one in here.
Shirley's got one from the
Shirley's got one.
Oh, I'm
Is that from
sure.
the
natural resource.
natural reserve?
Yeah,
Research.
So,
there's a map of all the different things that, Celia just
That could be an
mentioned.
Overlay
okay,
Yeah,
over the GIS.
okay.
That'd be
Yeah.
really interesting.
It's also, it's interesting to know it's a corduroy road. And what that is 100 years ago, we put logs across it.
Hmm.
The wetland, that's what it is. That's what's holding the road up.
Hmm.
That's what they did. And it just kept putting the dirt and saying on it.
So.
Aren't you learning a lot tonight?
I am,
yeah,
you know,
there's a map of the potential, just the wildlife corridors.
That's big.
it means nothing from
everywhere.
this far away. I'm like,
Pardon me?
what? Yeah, I'd love to see it, like, cool. I can't. it doesn't
And
mean
then
anything.
all the other
But I think-
things
Okay.
are in here too, that
Yeah.
to consider when you're.
I mean, so
deciding
again,
a place to-
that's almost like what we've been talking about with the other ones as far as educating people on the, do you know what exists? And where to find it, except that we don't have that
These are corridors.
Yeah.
on our GIS maps electronically. That would be easy for people to find.
And,
We have that in print. We have,
okay,
We have all those. we
Well, I
have
mean,
all
if they
that.
printed
Yeah.
it, we have to, they made it somewhere.
correct.
So
I think-
we should be able to
That's
have it.
master plan. What do you have there?
That's,
Did
this
you
looks like the.
Natural
resource.
resources.
That document.
I'm sure there's.
Sarah.
Has to be somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a lot of those maps that went into the planning
We just never found out.
and land use. Thought we did in the
Absolutely.
first part of the master plan.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't remember. Okay.
Here's the deer yards and.
They'll change.
Riparian and shoreline
Yeah.
buffers. Wetlands,
We really,
yeah.
if we don't have it.
Well, that's why
electronically,
it's good
it
for
Really should be. provided to
Development
the
and
town.
conservation to share their.
The inventory?
This sentence. said
Yeah,
very-
so Dr. Thies gave it to me on a jump drive at some point in time,
Oh, okay.
in like a Word document, I think. or
Okay.
something. I don't remember how, but it was like on a floppy disk.
Huh.
The
I don't know-
prime- the
I don't know
prime
where it
wetlands-
ended up.
Who's
but
got a
it
reader for that?
was- it was-
I don't
The
think I have it
prime
yet.
wetlands are named prime because they have the most value to them.
Sure.
Okay, so that's,
Mhm.
there are a lot of wetlands in town, but they're not all prime wetlands.
So,
So
yeah,
that's
I
what
think,
we've tried to protect.
and I think that, like we said, maybe we keep that kind of going through these too, as far as that where you find it educational piece, so that people are looping back. Go to meetings,
Right there.
read minutes.
Sit down with Delia for days.
Keep my mouth shut.
No, like the natural resource knowledge that you have is amazing. It's, so yes, I think it's like, to move to Enfield, you need to do these multiple things and like visit the Shaker Museum, have a 2-day seminar on natural resources with Sealy.
This could all be part.
Where like,
Yeah.
who's gonna take charge of the history? No,
That's only because I've lived on that hill forever, so.
I know,
Almost my whole
I
life.
have your
so
book,
I've seen Enfield grow.
yep. But it is that balance of responsible growth and understanding, you know, what those are and or how, you know, decisions are made, and some people just, their decisions made by the view. What they can see, it's not where the deer are coming from, right? And those are different priorities,
But that
they're
can always be
different.
handled,
you know,
too, because you can
I don't-
build in clusters and
Right.
there's a lot of ways to do it. And like,
not everyone understands that like deer are gonna follow this path. They just see them crossing the road wherever, you know?
they'll be crossing.
Like, and,
We got-
it feels
got-
random, right? But there's people that know it's not random. If you're not paying attention, it feels random. It's like, oh, they're just here and but for people who actually watch, like those patterns, like they go, no, there's rhyme and reason to it, and there's these set
If
paths
we-
that they go.
Even down at where your place is, that
Mhm.
the whole back down there next to the Oxbow on the river, that whole area is a prime wetland. So that's probably why you get deer and bear and people see them coming out over going to Muskoma Lake,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
They're brazen little things, I mean.
Well, let me tell you. All right, just to keep us moving.
Let's go, let's go.
We're gonna hit 8 o'clock before we know it. All right, town facilities and services. Again, looking at these questions.
My
Uh-huh.
first note would be, I might change the athletic fields
Uh-huh.
to
Not athletic fields.
not athletic fields, but I mean, technically, I think they all fall under parks for us, cause you know, it's the Shaker recreational fields, but so anyways, when I say athletic fields, I think school. I think,
Okay,
you know,
yeah, so how are they classified in the town?
it falls more under parks. Except for Shaker recreational field, so it's that parks and recreation. I might just keep parks and recreation, cause that's the,
These include town-owned buildings such as sites at the library, town offices,
Parks.
parks and recreation fields.
yeah. There you go.
Okay, versus athletic fields, okay, et cetera. Services include those services provided by the town, including waste management, public safety, water, sewer, parks. Are you satisfied, guest or whatnot? Sure, all right, to me, I hate these kind of questions, cause then it's like, no,
Mhm. Elaborate.
right, exactly, what about it, you know, cause no tells me which one, which
Yeah.
part,
We should have a, you know, if no,
in general.
or.
Ugh.
I mean, I hate saying that, but
Some
yeah,
of the areas we have why or why not.
yeah,
Um,
I'd say add that there,
Yeah.
cause like you said, it's not helpful. To get a, no,
Or like,
or unsure.
care to elaborate?
Or, yeah.
Want to say more?
Can we say that? Is that?
What services do you see as being essential in Enfield? Check all that apply.
Do we stick?
so, no, this is one I would say you can't really.
Yeah, I
Right.
was wondering.
Then number two, would you agree that this is not an appropriate one to force rank? I like all the others that you did suggest we force rank, but this one doesn't seem under town facilities and services, number two.
Oh, I don't know. I still think people would, you know, they're gonna rank order them based on what they're willing to spend money on. You know,
I mean,
what's most important to the town. You know,
to me, I do a part B and say, you know, of all the ones you've checked, now rank them in order, something like that. So if you don't check them all and then you
you could
say,
do that, yeah.
you know, as a way as part B, can you rank the ones you've
Yeah.
checked?
Yeah.
Rank order the ones you checked. Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm okay with that.
Again, we'll run it by the people who do this more often. But that's where it's like, if I don't agree with all of them, then I wouldn't, you know, if I don't think, oh, I don't wanna say any of them out loud. If I don't think that,
Road maintenance.
nope. I don't wanna say any of them. I'm trying to think of something that's not on there. Dog walking services are, should be managed by the town. You know, if I don't check that, then I wouldn't wanna rank order it, you know?
Right.
But also if I have
Dog
to rank
poop,
order
there's been A
things.
lot about that.
Huh?
Dog poop.
There's
A lot about that.
Springtime, it's gonna start back.
Oh, God, it's amazing.
Just clean up.
Oh my God, it's amazing. Like, as the snow continues to melt, I'm like, really? There's more under there?
I mean, it's unbelievable.
Like I think my dogs go like 5
Just
times
on
more
Flattery Street,
often.
we walk that every day and there's piles of it.
Isn't that too bad?
Well,
So,
I mean, we pick it up as much. I'm like, the 2 dogs, like, just,
well,
like, it's more in the winter than it is all summer long.
And when the snowbanks melt,
Huh?
when the snow melts.
Yeah.
Crystal Lake Road.
Well, there was an article in the paper today about, you know, obviously dairy farms are backed up. Um,
Yes.
mhm.
Toilet humor
Yeah,
for
always.
y'all. They're back,
Yeah,
the
Oh, yeah.
toilet, buddy,
They
yeah.
couldn't get the manure spread this winter.
They
'cause the ground
can't,
didn't
and they had,
freeze.
yeah,
So they had to pile it up.
and they still haven't been able to, I don't think.
I could use a pile.
I was gonna say, you know, there's a guy that generates his power.
But yeah, normally in the winter, it's. ground is
It's
soft.
the reason, oh, you know, shit pie in transit, my friends. All right, we're being recorded here. It's not a public record.
The one. So I, just reading through these, we seem, we definitely take a lot of direction towards the stormwater on this one. But I
Mhm.
feel like it's less general and more pointed questions.
It's kind of leading, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess I was wondering in the. I don't know. I guess I have nothing really to add other than that. It seems kind of pointed and leading, but,
Here, I can tell you why that happened.
Yeah.
and I'm not saying it shouldn't be talked about, considering all the conversations that have happened.
I mean, it's hard to throw any of these out.
Yeah, I would agree,
They're all very important to the town.
but. I mean, if you go to
That is-
question 5, you could make that about any of the services we talked about. Not so much the properties part, but you know, it's like, that one's, I guess, maybe the most pointed and kind of leading. It seems like that one's very direct
Mhm.
on the. And if nothing else, I would say add that question to every single one. So we either, do you know where to find, or in what ways do you think the town could educate or assist community members, property, like, depending on the topic, whether it's the heritage, the recreation,
Mhm.
if that makes sense. If we're gonna ask it in one area, do we ask it in all areas?
And that's,
Or getting too
that
long?
stormwater thing is front and center with all the rain we had last year. I mean,
Yes,
I've
Right.
never seen so much water coming
I
up.
think that may be one of the reasons why. I mean, obviously, we know just, or at least I hope we know from logic that, you know, the reason that there were so many cyanobacteria flare-ups in the lakes is really from the rain, you know, it's not that. And there just was a whole lot more stuff washing down in a way that than happens normally.
yeah,
But that doesn't mean that it can't happen again or more, and it does have a big impact on obviously our summers and our, you know, people that recreate here and just the activity, you know, the lake was definitely less utilized in many ways more often.
But it is under question 2.
Yeah,
Stormwater is kind of all over this town thing.
yeah, so we can just point out and say, there seems to be multiple questions about stormwater, like,
Yeah.
where did, like, if you apparently heard this lot, whew.
yeah. And like I said, just kind of wondering, and or do we just add Either try to add on that same phrasing in each of the other ones, just so that a lot. It's the,
Which phrasing are you referring to?
Just the in what- yeah,
Yeah,
cause I feel like that's a pretty pointed ask, so
And five.
wouldn't we want that information for all of them? I would, especially if we're asking them where they find stuff, I'd wanna know if they're not finding it, what can we do?
I think
mean,
that we
loaded
might
question,
end up, and I'm just speculating here, we may end up running up against the like limited time wall, which is why we're, you know, we would want to ask 15 questions on each topic,
Oh, yeah.
you know, and why, I mean, I really thought we were gonna have a more robust survey. But, we may just run into that, like, there's no time or space to do all of this, so how do we utilize the limited resource of time that we have on this particular project, which just maybe, and this is my speculation, so, I think we asked the questions anyways, so be prepared, I won't be here, to ask those questions, but then I'm thinking that one of the reasons that we might be up against, but there's no reason not to ask for it still. And I'll write that down. So again, that Liz and team were thinking about it, you know? Energy and sustainability. Anything, on these particular questions or? I mean, I would say, can we add a scale, to
That's what I'm thinking.
one and then, you know, and then provide room for like a scale and then provide room for narrative,
I like that.
you know, for people that want to expand, but if it's like, yeah. I would change 3 and 2, the order, for sure.
That's,
I mean,
Number two is, do you think the town needs to do more to mitigate climate change? Yes.
mm-hmm. Well, it says, what more do you think the town could do? And that came directly from our notes from the last time. Um.
These are good.
So
Mhm.
I'm gonna play the pretend I know nothing question on 5.
Mhm.
When you ask somebody, what is your support of Enfield moving to energy independence / resilience? So are you asking Enfield, the town buildings and services, Enfield, the community members? Cause I would look at that and say, so are you asking me to put solar on my property even if I can't afford it? It's not that I don't want to do that. It's just that, to me, it's kind of it almost digs a little.
I think after doing question 4, maybe they'll think that's connected.
I'm just.
Bill, this question came directly out of stuff that you brought up last time. I know, cause I have it here.
Is there just another way to word it, I guess?
4
where it
and
would-
5 are kind of similar.
Mhm.
Okay.
Do you think it would be more clear if it was like the town of Enfield?
Yeah, I guess I was just curious, like, when it says, what is your support of Enfield moving forward? Or moving to energy, like, what does Enfield encompass?
It would kind of give you an idea though, what people are thinking. You know,
True.
And that's good.
But they're also- you're also going to get some indication when they answer the question on, would you like to see more on your private property, you know, or on the
Right.
town buildings? They all, if they're positive there, they're gonna be positive on number 5 as well.
So then do we change that question and go towards the? I hate doing this because, I mean, somebody has to do it at the town level, but that whole education and support piece, like we just asked for the. Do you think the town could educate or assist property owners for stormwater management? Do we ask the same, do we change number 5 and say, could we ask that question here?
Yeah, probably.
I mean, I'm just thinking, because there's so many resources in some ways for this, but you don't know what's legitimate.
And would be more aggressive in educating the community population as to conserving energy and sustainability.
Yeah.
Because there's
Are
a
you
whole
talking
slew of
about more
things.
like insulation, things like that, weatherization in
You know,
homes?
weather stripping, weather insulation.
I think all of the above, because we just had, was it Joellen shared it on the list? Like, we just had the weatherization one, but. And we've done a ton with community power, which is great.
Mhm.
But what about helping? Like myself, for example, there's all these ads, I don't know if you guys watch YouTube stuff ever, but like, there's ads on there and it's, oh, get solar now. There's so many things out there, and the question is, but what am I eligible for in New Hampshire or in this town?
Mhm.
That's what, it, you know, just like any other question we ask, like, it all comes down to the bottom dollar for me, myself, and I. So is that, do we flip that question?
I'm not targeted for those ads at all. I won't tell you what I'm targeted for.
I don't know why they pop up in mine, but they're like, oh,
'Cause
you
it's
could get
targeted.
solar. Probably because they know that I want it.
You clicked on something.
Interested in solar one time.
Exactly. I was like, they know I was looking at it one time about it, but it's just, you know, it's all, and they're always linked. They're like, hey, you could get your roof replaced for free.
I always get, you got the best edibles in New Hampshire. I'm like,
You better watch out.
Well, that's, and that's what I'm saying, you know,
Why?
so is there a way, because we have a really great committee who has done a lot of work, and we have a lot of knowledgeable folks like yourself, so is there something, again, do we take, is that where we put that question?
Yeah.
Since we're kind of collecting the above, Mike. collect
So
that already.
maybe, and one of my thoughts is, instead of asking that same question 5 times,
Mhm.
we ask that question once.
I was thinking the same.
And like it's a, do you want more, you know, should we be doing more, or do you want more information on? Or do you know where to get? I mean, again, I don't know which one it is of those 3, or maybe it's like, you know, education resources, and it's like check next to want more, know where to get, you know, it's like 3
Yeah.
columns, but. You know, how do
just
we
put
get
it-
to asking the question once, but also 5 times, so that's 15 questions in one.
Well, yeah, so
like-
could you do the, what was the first last one? What
Um,
ways? So could you do that? Maybe there's a final question
yeah, it's,
at the end that's a general for all, and you just put each one of these there
yeah, and it's like rec,
with space.
energy. So I just like drew a chart here, conservation, and it's like,
Yeah,
need more information, know where to get more information, you know, or something, I don't know what we have to, know where to get, would like more. I don't know, there may not be that many, I feel like I had 3 different things, but maybe I didn't, you know.
I don't think I think that's a great question, even though I just think of our town staff, and if you say, yes.
Well,
I
it would
do
get
think-
funneled to the
what does that-
committees.
Right,
It would get, I mean, to me, that's the stuff that's, that gets
Yep.
funneled to the committees, or that says to the committees, like, people want information.
Right.
And how do we, again, as a community, develop better newsletters, better communication sources? We all know that. We know from lots of different research that people don't know where they get information. There's no town center anymore. There's no town bulletin, one center bulletin board. We're not gonna talk about electronic signs here. There is no, you know, but there's no like Enfield newspaper,
Mhm.
right? And at the town offices, there's some bulletin boards, but people don't necessarily go there. I mean, I know when I was putting up information, when I worked for the museum, you know, we had this whole list of all the different places to go put up a poster, you know, and like, again, and then you saw 20, you know, you have all these people like, I never saw anything.
Yeah.
Cause I didn't put it right here.
And that's
But,
what it is for Parks and Recreation. You have all
Yeah.
the spots, but then you have that.
but we don't have a really good sense, and so listserv, yes, but no.
Facebook.
Facebook, there's 4 different pages. You have to sign up for them and then not get kicked off of them. And then,
I did see something from the town page, actually.
then there's the town website, but then you have all the people that complain that people don't have internet, you know, like there's not a good one source. And so we do know that, or, you know, so it is that, did we ask how you
A
get your
newspaper.
information? I know, right?
We
All
asked
time
the-
printing press.
I feel like in the recreation.
Bulletin board at Jake's.
Okay.
I know, but did we ask that the last time? How do you get your information?
But we did, I think we did.
Yeah,
I think if the town is, if the community is very interested in sustainability and resilience and going to alternative energies, then we should put that in the plan and let the town figure out, maybe they gotta hire a guy that works specifically on
Right.
going to people's homes and helping them put more insulation and doing blower door tests, helping them figure out what's a reliable solar
Yep.
connection. And that could be built right in with Liam, you know, put another person in there. If that's what we put in the plan, and if that's what the community wants,
right.
that's how you approach that.
So,
Yeah, because if it isn't what they want, it's pretty hard to.
Then you're not gonna do it.
right,
But we don't discuss that. What we discuss is, do you think this town needs to be more resilient, be more energy independent in the next 5 years?
Yeah.
And if 80% of the people come back saying, we want that, well, then we toss it back to the town manager and say, hey, this is in the plan, figure out how to make it happen, you know?
Yep.
And we'll be watching, you know? Measurable results.
My favorite matrix.
That's how it works, in my opinion.
to keep us going, I don't wanna keep us here too much longer. Anything else on this? I'm gonna send these notes. Bring these other questions. I'll try to, communicate them to Liz so she's prepared, but also have them ready to ask her, you know, ask them about, especially, I know we have this balance between a short amount of time, community, in-person stuff we want, you know, and we wanted to, I guess, keep those exact questions for the online tool, but can the online tool be more robust? We're gonna get people that are gonna do both, you know, so they're offering their one opinion twice. You know, how do we do that? That's why I'd almost love to see the online tool be more robust.
Yeah.
And not just a reiteration of the just what's in the community. Or maybe we ask a question like, did you go to the, you know, something, the online tool? Did you attend a community
And Lindsay, do you
forum?
envision that Liz, when we sit down with her next week, that she has revised one of these?
I don't know. I like, again, I'm not quite sure. I want to get her back the information. I know she'll have some sort of processing that she'll be able to do.
Yeah.
Whether or not it will actually, I mean, they seem to work pretty efficiently as long as I get them stuff. So I have to be efficient. So I would hope so, but I can't
Okay.
say that's, for sure. I feel like she would, or at least would come prepared, even if she doesn't send something out, but if she,
Say, I heard
Yeah.
this and here's what. I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
yeah.
Okay.
and be able to address some of those concerns, but also say, I brought this up. And I, you know, so I don't know what we'll get from her, but I will, work on typing these up even tonight and getting it to her and not putting it off till tomorrow, because I'm really good at doing that and then forgetting for a week. It's never happened before. We looked at the GIS maps the last time. I sent her all of those notes. If there are other thoughts that, I mean, I told her about obviously some of the technical changes that we noticed on ones there, so we want to keep looking at those. I think
I don't think this is called the Henry Laramie thing.
Henry.
No, it's not.
Okay,
no, it
what are we
says-
on? What are we on?
It says,
What-
Henry on the,
Enfield Historic Preservation Map. Okay,
they have the wildlife management under Henry Laramie, it's fishing, it should be fishing game,
Okay.
right? Rob?
Smith Pond is Henry Laramie, is this Henry? Okay.
One
I
of
don't
the-
know.
something.
I found the coloring of them to be really hard for me to read. I don't know about anybody else. It's
color.
throwing me, but are these the same maps that we used in the other one? The coloring still? Okay. Because they're more satellite image
It's,
sourced than, whatever, non-satellite.
I have a,
Good,
a question there.
What is it?
Um,
Yes, oh,
You
wait,
got that one?
7,
Enfield,
uh,
Centertown.
no, we did not get that. Okay, so number 7 is Enfield Center. Okay.
I don't have much.
Okay, property, floodplain. I'll ask about a wildlife corridor.
We got the maps from that.
Found this wonderful map on
And then
wildlife
First part.
corridors, state of New Hampshire. That's really cool. You can zoom all the
Okay.
way into Enfield.
Ooh, wildlife corridors. All right, so I'm gonna put down wildlife corridors just as a question mark.
With that, as
Yeah,
It's way better than your map.
it is.
Well, hers is static, yours is dynamic, or is it just better?
And it's got all the bridges and you just click on it and it tells
It
you.
is.
what's-
that's cool.
Yeah, well, it's got the whole state of New Hampshire and you just zoomed in.
But you can zero right in on
You can
Enfield?
zoom right in on Enfield, yeah.
Oh, that's good.
What is that on?
It's the, New Hampshire Wildlife Corridors map.
I love it when these things are just named exactly what you're looking at. There's no hiding
Just
behind
Google it,
it.
and it'll come, you'll find it, I think.
Okay,
I got the URL is very long.
yeah, it's fine, that's fine. I should tape you. That was an appropriate use of Google it. My mom doesn't understand how to tell me to Google it. All right, keep looking at those maps. They can continue to get tweaked. So, and, if we, additions and that kind of stuff. So advertising mailings with the community forum, we are gonna do a postcard. Liz was hoping she'd have it done for tonight. They did not, I did not see anything come through, so they will probably have it, at least, the mock-up of it, by next week, so,
Of what?
of a postcard that's gonna get a mailing.
Oh, good.
So, pray to God that it works. Please come and look at when it goes out, I need people with good critical eyes, making sure that we have the place, that we've got the time, like those things that need those essential elements. It's not too busy. It's, the resilience is gonna be putting it together. So I feel like that'll be good. And then, I'm not sure. We may have to have a quick little, I'm not sure how. I've asked about using a company that just does the mailing themselves versus ordering all the postcards, they arriving, and then we have to sort them. I don't know what's gonna happen there, so hopefully David will have more information.
What did we do last time?
We ordered them and then, we had twice as many as we needed, and then they all got dropped off at my house, and then my mom and I sorted them and put them together in mailing packets.
Yeah, there is a company, because we've used them for Friends of Mascoma, and I'm blanking on their name, but I can get it.
I know.
I'm sure they're not the only. company,
There's
but there are
companies, it's more of like, there was a local printer, so we were able to do that,
Yeah.
but then we ordered way too many of the things, and then, but my mom and I sat there and sorted them into the zip codes,
No.
which is not hard to do, there's only 2,000 mailing addresses, and so you just have to do, yeah.
Could you send them to
2005.
both, Enfield and Enfield Center?
Yeah, it's all the,
I'm sorry.
that's good.
I assume we're gonna be using the listserv, the town, website and Facebook as well.
We can, if we send it to people, like, the Facebook can, if it goes to Mascoma Messenger and,
So there
And-
was something that went out from the town Facebook page the other day and I was completely shocked it popped up. So I'm thinking it was legitimate, so I'm thinking maybe we have access again, and by we, I mean Elisa. She's the one with the,
maybe,
unless it's transitioning, but,
yeah,
she would just share a link though normally, like
Yeah.
an announcement, that would be a link to like the town page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
and
Are we
we're
using
gonna do a
these?
physical postcard that goes to every mailbox and PO box. Yes, 2005.
I'm just really shocked, that's it.
That's it.
Actually, I thought there'd be more
Nope.
of the resident number.
We're like multiple people per household. We only have,
True.
um, that is according to the EDDM tool for
Yeah,
the, on the post office.
I mean, that's still plenty when you're sorting this.
So, and yeah, that includes Enfield Center, so. But the way that that happens is that either we have to physically sort them into groups of 50 that then get rubber banded and then also sorted by routes. So there might be having to be a sorting party, because I've made it clear that I am not the default option here. I'm happy to do it, but I'm not the default option. Or sometimes printers do it themselves and they sort them and they send them right to the post office. So I'm not sure which route we're utilizing, but
Guess it depends on what we put in the budget,
Yeah.
right?
yeah, we've got plenty of room in the budget.
Oh, okay.
There's that part there, like, this is all part of the grant. And there's room to do 2 mailings because there's room for mailings for both the zoning stuff and for this.
And
So it's 1 mailing for each.
Okay.
There's plenty of money in there. It's just a matter of, I don't know if the number I saw included. Because obviously if a printing company does it, it costs more, but
Right, that's what I meant, did we have the,
I don't know. It's only 2,000 pieces. So it's like, hey, come over to my house and help me count and sort these. And
we can do that.
So what are
it-
you just putting it in?
We take the postcards and so each, so the EDDM tool on, there's 3 routes in Enfield. Yep, there's 3 total routes in Enfield that a mail
Is
carrier
that
does. And so
just-
you break it down into packs of, so like if one route has 1,114 mailboxes on it, you put them into packs of 50 and then, and by that route. And then, then with one, and then you mark them all, so, and so you give them to the post office, like, this all goes to this mail carrier, because they keep them. I know way too much about this, they keep them off to the side, and so then every mailbox, they hit their mail, and they grab one of those, because it's in that, like,
Now, do you order extra generally?
huh?
Do you order extra? It sounds like.
Well, so it's
Question,
hard,
but I-
because if you go to yes, because if we go to an independent, printer,
Mhm.
that's not doing it for the EDDM. It's, normally you order 2,000 and then the next jump is like 2,500. It's really hard to be like, I want 2,010. Yeah, 50. So last time we ended up with like 4,000. It was by accident. But we can get it closer to that number. Again, it's hard. Nice thing about local printers is that we could get a more exact number of what we want. So, and then I think some places, some printing houses, if they're doing the EDDM, they'll do it.
Well,
that
what I
exact
was gonna say, I was just gonna ask how many extra you generally had, because you know what I've done is go to the post office
Mhm,
the
and you
day
just
after
give them
they,
Mhm.
and you can generally get 75 or 100 in the throwaway. Unfortunately,
Yep.
people, before they leave the post office, they're gone.
Mhm.
They recycle,
Yeah.
and so I go in and take them out of the recycles.
So Shirley's our dumpster diver. Extra.
And I use, send them out,
offices.
put another,
Right.
address.
So
in
yeah, I
over
think
them
we're
and-
gonna get as close to a number as we can, just because it's just to announce these 2 things, these 2 community forum events, but also include like a QR code to the online tool, or at least a website and or QR code to access the online survey as well. I really think we need to include so that's where there's a little bit of that to be sorted out, but that's one way it's gonna happen. The other way is word of mouth, Facebook pages, which any of you can post something to the Facebook page. Once we have, let's wait till after the next meeting. Especially once we have online tools, but, if you know, I'm not even sure who runs Mascoma Messenger. Is it Kate?
I do too.
And you do, I figured.
Are you really surprised?
So there's a few people that, and there are,
Yeah.
I think there's 3 or 4 Enfield community discussion-esque pages.
I know, at least 2.
Man. I know of 3,
I was
one
like, I'm
I'm
part of
banned
2.
from.
I'm part of 2, I know of 3.
One I got kicked off of. So, and then there's listservs, and then, yep, we can ask the town to, but the problem is that, like, the way the town website works, as far as my knowledge, is it would be over on the master plan task force page. We don't have like a front page of like breaking news, do
No,
we?
we have announcements, so it
Announcement
could get
section?
put into, announcements, right? News or announcements, and then if Lisa posts it there, it would be on that first page, and then if you've signed up to get news and announcements, you'd get an email as well
Yeah,
about it, so.
And the
Okay.
May newsletter might be timely too, because they usually comes
Yes.
out the first week, so.
Yeah,
yeah, so we need it for the May one. Great, we still have time. I wasn't completely,
yeah, I have not.
I knew
Yeah,
that, we
it'd be
didn't
good
need
time.
one.
There's stuff
Well-
for this month too, though.
Yeah.
That's it, okay.
You got it in
Did
there?
we, and I saw the.
Oh,
question,
good
are
job.
we
I thought
using-
I was, my job.
Yeah.
With those dates and everything?
Yeah.
No, I didn't read it yet.
I saw the question, is Leaps still?
Yeah.
We're posting to it, using it?
David's
I
got
think you have.
one person on that.
Yeah, David's a point, David and
We did have
Barbara.
a Barbara meeting last week. and
Yes.
Okay,
was
I
hoping
just
he
thought it
kind of
was
here to
asked.
Update us on what,
I mean, I've kind of, again, I've gotten the dribbles from figuring out how many mailboxes there are in the town.
Yep.
And that kind of stuff. And that, yes, that the website's going, but I didn't get more specific.
and I know David had communicated with Liz about the plans, and Liz was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
So
okay.
we're feeling good there.
Yeah. So those are things to look for. Old business, new business. So new business, I think, is that once we get through these community forum events, it may back off a little bit. You know, again, the biggest thing is to just encourage everybody, you know, to be filling out the online tool if they can't make it to one of those 2 community events. The more people we can, and utilizing different spaces. So if it's appropriate, you know, if it's appropriate to say, hey, I don't know, at your church or at your, book club or, you know, whatever, like that this is happening, or, you know, so, trying to reach a wider audience. And there are people that we miss a lot. So, if you know somebody who's a seasonal resident, like how do we get to them? We can probably, try to do some, like, we can do some other brainstorming, like sharing it with the, lake associations and that kind of stuff, you know, again. Some of this may not, how do we get some of the more, we're in summer, so we get the transient residents.
Yeah, won't show up till June though.
Well, yeah, and I don't know how long the tool's gonna be up, so that's a good question for Liz. But they may not show up till June, but they might still get the, you know, the pre-information, I mean,
Yeah, and they can do something.
electronically. It's
Yeah.
amazing on how we can reach people all over the world.
I get, so here's a question.
Mhm.
When you say in-town mailing addresses, I'm just thinking we also have people who we can't use them.
There's no way to get them to them.
From the tax records?
That's what I
Well,
was wondering, like, cause we would have tax
So
address
it's,
versus.
yeah, like I mean, that's a whole other game
It's very true.
that it's not, so for this postcard mailing, which is really focusing on the community forum events, it is gonna have the other stuff. I don't even know how we get all of that. We can, to use the Everydoor Direct mail, to use that insignia, which is a different price point than, you know, and you can get the way that works, it has to be a full route. You can't do like 3 houses on a route. So it's not targeted. It is like you either do every house on that route or none of them.
Yeah, I mean, it might create duplicate. I was just wondering
Right,
if we,
and so like if we to like be like, okay, this person's in Florida to mail it to their house in Florida, like it's a whole other. Like we wouldn't, it couldn't be printed with that, the EDDM insignia, it would have to be stamped, mailed.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it'd probably be a lot fewer. Our numbers do jump dramatically with
sure,
those residents, but
but all those residents will get one in their mailbox. The thing is like, how do we reach them electronically before that? If they're not here until June?
Does the tax office have email addresses?
No,
Mm-mm,
no,
no,
mm-mm,
tax office, no.
yeah, no.
shit.
If
Yeah.
you've opted into stuff,
Yeah.
then you'll
so I
get
guess if you
notes,
got-
like, cause I know, like, if for your vehicle registration, all that kind of stuff, but they don't have, it's not a mandatory system to
They
have.
might have a way to contact, but that could be phone.
Yeah.
Mail.
Yeah, basically our entire system is mailing addresses.
Yeah.
That's what it is, for tax.
Yeah, and that's very different to have a mailing list versus EDDM, which is what we're utilizing, so,
Right.
so, again, every EDDM, every door direct mail, so it's literally those flyers, like, and they don't think of it, they just put. So it's, there's some very specific
Because
rules around
that,
it.
they don't actually have an address on them, do they? They just go to.
They
every-
don't have an address on them.
Right.
Nope,
Yep.
they just go to every door on that. So we can pick, you can target specific mailing routes, right? Like I could,
Yeah.
and there's 3, so it's a cool tool. Like just look up EDDM.
Yeah, my
And
favorite
go to-
is mine and my neighbor's
Mhm.
mailbox are next to each other and we're each on a different route.
Yeah.
It feels nice.
Mhm.
That means 2 people drive
Yeah.
to the mailbox. And I'm like, this
Hey, you
makes
could be in
sense.
Grafton where there's one mail route and it's 86 miles long and they can't keep a mail carrier because they
Yeah.
keep threatening the life of the mail.
And our
Oh.
budget covers EDDM.
Yeah,
It doesn't cover it
yeah.
much beyond
At
that.
the time, even that, so even using Everdoor Direct, it's about at least $400 and then plus the printing, so, we're talking about $1,500.
That's,
Really?
The firm?
Mm.
Well, printing plus, yeah, so the printing of 2,000 plus mail pieces, double side color. Big postcard, so it,
Mhm.
it's not this big, it's like
Yeah.
it'll be 8.5 by 11.
Probably better off offering free beer and pizza.
Hard
I
stuff.
know.
Always offer food. People come for food.
Guaranteed.
Come to the meeting, free beer and pizza.
if you need help with the sorting party, let us all know.
Yeah, we'll see what
Yeah.
happens. I don't know where we've landed on that. I don't know where that's in the budget part, but I just was like,
Yeah, that's-
This was.
Yes.
the last.
that's the last one.
Nice.
So we had a big bunch of white space.
You can see there's the
Yeah,
postal.
yep. So that's a very specific insignia that just, and then there's a price point that goes with that. Yeah, we'll see where we land on that. It was just more of a, it is cheaper if you just, well, not always, but
Let us know.
yes, it is cheaper to have a printer, just print out things off and then do the physical labor, and it's not only 2,000 mail pieces, but I just was more like, I'm not the default
No.
mail sorter.
A little sort of dirty right here.
Sometimes. Okay. So I think that's, just if we're looking like, once we get through these couple of May things, I think we're gonna be back to sort of one meeting a month especially, but it's gonna be really fast, June, July, August, September, boom, we're done.
I
So
know.
I'll send out the Teams link for next Monday, for everybody.
please do. Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry I won't be there, but
Okay.
Excellent.
I will type all this stuff up tonight.
We're still going with the second Mondays. of-
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the reason for next
least
week
through
is it was
May.
supposed to be the 4th Monday and then Liz, something came up that she couldn't do, and so we went with the 15th. We had this just to help clarify some of these questions so that next week is super productive. And then, depending how folks are feeling, we do not have to have a meeting on the 22nd. You all need to decide that next time. As I say that, do we have a meeting? We made,
Well, that's, so.
that's where I see. We do have, yeah, so if we don't have one on the 22nd, we would not have another meeting before the community event. So,
Okay, 9.
on May 9th. And then on May 9th and May 11th, which not everybody has to be at both, plan to be at one.
I'll be at that.
I will be at the 9th. I probably won't be at the 11th.
Not the 11th.
So that's, I think we should just plan on having a meeting on the 22nd. Sorry, that's 4 weekends in a row, or 3 weeks in a row here in April. But we'll try to make it that it doesn't, I won't be here for that either. But if we can try to, if there's any sort, unless we think we can do it via email, but, take a temperature check next week. I'll tell David to take a temperature check, see where you're at, about how you're feeling about the community forum. I mean, resilience is gonna lead it. So we just need to be there to participate and also get people to come and follow their lead. We don't have to run it ourselves, so which is great. Following their lead and and letting them take charge is really nice. So we may not have to do stuff on the 22nd if y'all are feeling good and comfortable about it. Sound good?
That's good.
Ready to go?
Yep.
All right, it is 8:24. Call it, oh wait, do I have a motion?
Motion. To adjourn.
Turn second, all in favor,
Aye.
all not here. All right, thank you all so much.
Thank you.
If you have more questions, just form them and ask Liz. I think it's great